At 23 minutes past 7, let's continue to talk about the coronavirus, because the discovery of a vaccine would be very good news, wouldn't it? Well, if you're human, it would be. Much less so if you're a horseshoe crab. That is because the blood of the horseshoe crab is used to make vaccines safe. Environmentalists want to avoid a practice which already involves hundreds of thousands of crabs getting milked or bled each year. I've been speaking to Dr. Barbara Brummer of She's the New Jersey State Director for Nature Conservancy. I asked her how it works.
It was determined a number of years ago that the factors that are in the blood of horseshoe crabs react very strongly with any endotoxins, that's materials from bacteria, and form a clot. And you would say, well, why is that important? The fact of the matter is, when you develop a vaccine, in order to test for sterility, the FDA here in the U.S. requires that you do an endotoxin test. And that endotoxin test uses the blood of horseshoe crabs. And
that means that hundreds of thousands of them are harvested now?
Right now, they bleed about 500,000, 500,000 horseshoe crabs. They collect the blood, and then they return the crabs to the water. When they are put back, they're alive, but nobody really knows the impact that withdrawal of blood has on the life of that crab. Right?
So
Once
a new global vaccine would mean a huge increase, presumably, in the number of crabs that were needed and the impact there'd be.
Well, if you think about it, there are at least 30 companies, I believe, working on a vaccine, and every one of them has to go through a lot of sterility testing. And so my concern is about the population of the horseshoe crabs, because they're such a key part of the ecosystem in terms of feeding things like shorebirds. Shorebirds like red knots, semi-palmated plovers and such. And the horseshoe crabs, in the middle of May, come up onto the shores in the Delaware Bay to lay their eggs. And the shorebirds rely on that food source to rebuild their fat reserves so that they can go then from the Delaware Bay in New Jersey and fly all the way up to the Arctic Circle where they breed.
Now, there is an alternative, isn't there, to this extraordinary process. I've seen the photographs of sort of milking almost the horseshoe crab.
It's just like when you give blood, right? They put a needle in your arm and take out blood. But a number of years ago, they started developing a synthetic test that would replace the need for taking blood from the horseshoe crabs. They successfully developed it. In fact, Europe has approved the use of that test as an alternative. But just recently, in the beginning of June, the U.S. did not approve it as an alternative to the current test that uses the horseshoe crab blood material. So I'm pushing for getting this to be shown to be equivalent so that we can move away from relying on this natural source of endotoxin test.
Because we want good news for crabs as well as for humans.
Yes, good news for crabs, good news for birds. The Nature Conservancy that I'm a part of believes in protecting the lands and waters that we all depend on.
Dr. Barbara Brummer, New Jersey State Director for Nature Conservancy, thanks for joining us.